All right, so that was yesterday. Then late last night, Stephen Ross released this statement, quote, with regards to the allegations being made by Brian Flores, I'm a man of honor and integrity and cannot let them stand without responding. I take great personal exception to these malicious attacks, and the truth must be known. His allegations are false, malicious, and defamatory. We understand there were media reports stating that the NFL intends to investigate his claims, and we will cooperate fully. I welcome that investigation, and I'm eager to defend my personal integrity and the integrity and values of the entire Miami Dolphins organization from these baseless, unfair, and disparaging claims. So as I bring the rest of the group back in here, Graziano, let me start with you first here, because when the lawsuit first became public knowledge, the league's initial response was to say that it was without merit. But now it appears, with regard to that, they were talking about the hiring practices piece of the lawsuit, if you will, but they are investigating this part. Do we have that right?
The league will look into this, yes. From what I was told last night by sources close to this, the league will investigate to the extent that they can. It's the same with any kind of NFL investigation. All rests on the cooperation they get, right? Were there witnesses that heard Stephen Ross say this to Brian Flores? Are there text message exchange or email exchanges that can prove this? If not, there's just really not a lot for the league to go on. It's one man's word against the others. But if they do find some evidence to support Brian Flores' claims, then it's a very serious charge that the league will have to deal with in a very serious way.
Absolutely. And for whatever it is worth, the two lawyers who were here with Brian Flores yesterday said they do have corroborating evidence that this offer was made. They did not tell us what that evidence was. So we'll wait and see if and when something like that comes to light. Okay. So this obviously is something that has everyone's attention for all of the obvious reasons. Let's start by dealing in the portion about the $100,000 per loss, and then we'll work our way to the hiring practices piece of the conversation. But Bart, I'll give you the floor first on that.
I mean, I think somebody's just a liar, right? This is one man's word against the other. But, you know, to believe that this is something that isn't common practice, I mean, would be absurd as well. Understanding that, you know, teams have done this for years. That's why, you know, the NFL recognized this. And the reason why you can see that they recognize this is because they start making conference games at the end of the schedule so you can avoid the anti-taking laws. You know, but the thing is, you know, and the problem is when you have owners that's not from, you know, the sport and, you know, they're fans, they don't understand how hard it takes for a guy to work to get to that level. And, you know, usually what they used to do is general managers used to put guys on IRs. That's how you can always tell when a team was tanking. They would take players that didn't have real injuries and they would put them on IR for the year. So this is something that's common practice, but it's absurd that you think that you can buy somebody by offering them allegedly $100,000. I think that's the offensive part about it. And we have a responsibility also to our gambling partners to make sure that everything is done in good faith.
To be clear, I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is there are ways to not organizationally not make every effort to win. That do not involve on game day itself the coaches and the players not trying as hard as they can. You can't involve the coaches.
You can't involve the coaches. Usually what general managers used to do is put guys on IR, and they had bogus injuries that they would play through.
Right, and they trade away players before the season begins for draft picks. There were ways of doing that without what we're talking about here. Damian Woody, go ahead.
Yeah, Greeny, this is just this is the craziest thing I've heard. Because I mean, think about it. We talking about coaches and tanking games. What coach in their right mind would want to do something like this? Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what's on your resume. Okay, you are what your record says you are. So, you know, if these allegations are true, why in the world would Brian Flores want to go along with something like that? And the fact that, you know, an owner would throw $100,000 per game you lost in his face, I mean, that's just disrespects the integrity of Brian Flores as a coach. I mean, listen, no coaches, players, we don't give a damn about a draft pick. Like, they can't help us now. Okay, we're trying to win games now. So, again, if the allegations are true, they're just damned in Stephen Ross. And I think if they are found to be true, he should be the franchise should be taken away from him.
I did hear a lot of that sort of conversation yesterday. Now, Mike T., you were the general manager of the Miami Dolphins, Steve, when Stephen Ross was the owner, so you know him in a way that the rest of us do not. What is your perspective on all of this?
Yeah, when I worked for Steve for 5 years, he was extraordinarily competitive, gave us all the resources to win. So Obviously, I was not there with Coach Flores, so I can't comment on what happened between those two gentlemen. But I can tell you my experiences were he gave us every resource to win and be successful on the field.
Okay, I get it. I understand. And you're not there. We don't know if anyone else was in the room where it happened. Again, the lawyer said there is corroborating evidence. We'll wait and see if and what that is. That said, the root of this lawsuit is about the hiring practices in the National Football League and Brian Flores' belief, and he's certainly not the only one, that those practices are flawed and they are skewed in a way that is unfair to black coaches and other coaches of color. With regard to that part of the conversation, D. Wood, as we see this continue to evolve and the lawsuit now that might make a big change here, we'll see. What are your thoughts today?
Honestly, Greeny, it's exhausting, to be honest with you. It's exhausting. We have these type of issues come up all the time, and we have the conversation with, black players, black coaches, what needs to be done. And quite honestly, there's nothing that we can say that's going to change anything. Really, there's nothing that we can say that will change anything. Hopefully, you would think that this lawsuit would shed some light, some transparency on the actual hiring process. That would be my hope. But ultimately, Greeny, what this really comes down to is this. We don't need to ask the black players or coaches because we know where they stand at, okay? We don't need to ask Roger Goodell because Roger Goodell works for the owners. He is a pawn. We don't need to ask Roger Goodell. Everything needs to be pointed to the owners. Like these questions can only be answered by the guys who are in power. We can sit here all day and talk about these issues, and there are plenty of them. But if we want to get to the root cause and why these things continue to happen, where there's only one black coach in the National Football League with 70% of the players being African American, that's a damn shame. And we need to point it to one place and one place only, to the owners who control the situation.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.